You know it's the end of the summer when you begin to see films where the top billed actors are an Academy Award nominee, an Academy Award winner, and a child star that's currently hoping to transition into tougher roles. I had the same reaction a lot of people had when they first saw the trailer for this film. I mean, at first it looked like your typical run-of-the-mill action film with high-speed chase scenes and enough car wreckage for the studio to amass its own personal junkyard, which actually happened, by the way. But then Selena Gomez would appear on screen and you'd just feel confused and not quite sure what to think about it. But then you remember that she starred in Spring Breakers and that this is just part of her transition phase into more adult roles. Coming out of the film, I find that my assumptions weren't that far off, as it is, in fact, a run-of-the-mill action film with high-speed chase scenes and enough car wreckage for the studio to amass its own personal junkyard with a teen sidekick. Let's begin this episode of Romney's Reviews. Everything gets off to a weird start in this film when it comes to delivering the setup. I mean, you get a combination of 3 different approaches, not one of them being really the direct approach, and it all feels as if the film couldn't decide whether or not it wanted to deliver the setup via flashback or via exposition. Combine that with some of the weird editing choices and inconsistencies of some of the flashbacks, and you really have a film that stumbles at the starting gate. For the most part, we're treated to a film that's filled with headache-inducing chase scenes and cinematography that feels like it was planned out by someone who just got a whole bunch of GoPro cameras for their birthday and was just so excited to use them that they decided to make a movie around it. This leads to a few moments in the film, with one scene in the third act in particular, where some shots are held on for way too long. I mean, I understand it may have seemed like a cool idea in pre-production, and it probably would get people to buy D-Box tickets, but do you really have to have a 2-minute long POV driving shot where nothing happens? I mean, literally, it's just camera gets closer to the van the guy's chasing, van pulls away. Camera gets closer, van pulls away. Camera gets closer, van pulls away. Unless you're actually leading up to something within the shot, it doesn't need to be 2 minutes long. Speaking of people trying too hard, the same thing could be said about Selena Gomez's performance. I mean, I understand the writers, as well as Selena Gomez herself, don't want the main female lead to be seen as some sort of innocent damsel in distress. But I had trouble taking the film seriously when you literally got this kid holding Ethan Hawke at gunpoint trying to sound all tough and intimidating. I mean, I understand it was kind of dealt away with pretty quickly, but I just couldn't take it seriously, especially when you got kind of the whole like vulgar stuff, her like flipping off like other drivers. It's just a case of you're trying way too hard to transition into adult roles. I mean, it's like a kid who tries to do all these different things to look like a big kid, but in the end only looks even more childish. Another major gripe I had with the story is that the final plot twist of the film had some interesting ideas, but the way it was executed was a little overindulgent. It kind of negated the effect the plot twist could have had. While I can't go into too much detail, let's just say that the filmmakers were really excited to showcase the one instance of CGI they had in the entire film. Overall, this film is a mildly entertaining action film that's just basically filler while we wait for the holiday movie season. I mean, the action scenes boasted some creative ideas, but the way it was paced and the way it was shot made the scenes feel a tad boring from time to time. In terms of acting, it's not the worst I've seen in a film, but the writing really needed polish in terms of characterization. Badly. This is definitely a film you're better off renting on Netflix or just waiting to come to the Redbox or something, because viewing it in a theater in a low-light environment will probably give you a headache or an eye ache, and really, it's not the kind of film that's worth seeing in theaters. So yeah, wait for it to come to the dollar theaters if you want to see it in theaters. Other than that, wait for it to come to Netflix or some sort of video rental store if they still exist. All that said, on my personal scale, I'm giving Getaway a 3 out of 5. So that's it for this episode of Romney's Reviews. I understand one episode this week, it's kind of light, but my new schedule doesn't allow me to cover as many advanced screenings as I would have during the summer. As for next week, there won't be a film review because I will be busy covering the Salt Lake City Comic-Con this next week. Hopefully I'll be bringing a lot of good footage and kind of creating sort of a highlight reel from the convention for you, my YouTube viewers. This is the first actual Comic-Con here in Salt Lake, although there have been other conventions here in Salt Lake in the past. This is the first time that one's being run by people who actually know what they're doing. Well, then again, I don't know much about some of the other conventions outside of the anime circuit, but let's just say I've heard a lot of the drama, but I can't say much more than that. So yeah, next week you'll be seeing videos from Salt Lake City Comic-Con. See you then.